What's up, Windwalkers, and welcome to my Mythic Stix Bunkjunker guide. Now, what's exciting about this boss is that we managed to get the 9th takedown in the world, which honestly is crazy to me. However, that's not what I'm going to be walking you through in this guide, and there is a reason for it. Before we get into those reasons, let's take a peek at the final moments of our progress on this diabolical boss.
We have 10 seconds. Wheels, you make sure you bubble once you're back.
That's cool.
It's such an easy boss.
Yes!
Fucking go.
Yes!
Come on.
Nice one, lad.
And we got a weapon.
Ah, memory lane. So, why am I not showing you that POV? Well, simply because since then, a better build came to light after this takedown that actually can output a bunch more damage, and I highly recommend you using it. At the time of recording, this was the rank 5 Stix log, and you can see here where all the damage came from. Blink and you'll miss it, but do I spy slicing wins? Anyway, quickly looking at gear, this is what I ran for the fight. You definitely want a two-hander for this, as it is a super heavy add encounter. One-handers are takeable, but you will perform worse. Finally, talents, and this is where things get spicy. For this boss, the best combination of talents is to completely drop the middle of the tree and go for both the lightning and slicing winds build. As there is so much AoE going on in this fight, you get an insane amount of value from taking these two. So much so that sacrificing transfer the power is worthwhile. Alright, I've definitely rambled on too much at this point. So, how about we walk through how you should play this fight then, shall we? So, as we've discussed, this is predominantly an AoE fight. You still want to get boss damage in, obviously, but adds need to die. So Crackling Jade Lightning and Slicing Winds are actually really good for taking out all the adds, as well as putting in some hefty boss damage. On pull, you're popping absolutely everything, as boss damage is still pretty crucial here, and no adds have spawned. This fight's quite interesting for Windwalker in that we have 1 minute 30 cooldowns. So what does this mean? This means you're going to get your cooldowns up every other ad set. So on pull, it's pretty chill at the moment, and suddenly I get the Rolling Rubbish to start with. This might be one of my least favourite sets to get the Rolling Rubbish on, but regardless, you do what you gotta do. This is a masterclass on collecting garbage. Your goal here is to collect as much garbage as possible, as well as collecting the Scrap Master. The Scrap Master is essential. If you don't pick up the Scrap Master, someone in your group is going to get one shot. So this is absolutely vital that you do it. What I also note here is that unfortunately a Scrap Master and a Territorial Bomb spawn on top of each other. I cannot pick up the Scrap Master until someone in my team has actually dealt with the Territorial Bomb and knocked it off its place. This is why I take a bit of time before going into the Scrap Master, because if I go into it and the Territorial Bomb at the same time, it's going to be bad times for my group. So you can see I picked up all of the trash in my quadrant, got the Scrap Master, and funneled it into the boss. Don't overthink it. Collect scrap, roll it into the boss, and collect your Scrap Master. It is that simple. Now, you're going to get randomly assigned trash rolling at different points in the fight. In this POV, I only get it once, which is kind of lucky to be quite honest with you, but you can get it as many times as possible. So we're going up into the jump, and here's an interesting thing you should do here. I advise Fortifying Brew here, as this was a lot of damage, but as well as that, I suggest that you put a Transcendence on top of the marker where the boss is going to jump to. That way, the moment he lands, you can jump back to him. This is pretty important, as what you want to do right here is get Strike of the Windlord off as soon as possible. It may be a couple of seconds that you save by doing this, but to get Strike of the Windlord off as soon as you possibly can is actually extremely crucial here, so that you get the extra damage on the boss, but then it also lines up with the second ad set. This might seem like a small thing, but it's actually quite massive. So you'll see throughout this fight, I have a reminder that says hold cooldowns for ads. Now this is not necessarily so that I can pump all my damage into the ads. I mean, it is, but at the same time, it's a reminder to tell myself, do not send cooldowns until the rolling garbage has been assigned. This is really important, because if you pop cooldowns and then you're assigned garbage, you've lost all that damage and your cooldowns. So the idea here is to basically pump as much damage into the boss as well as all the ads. This is where Slicing Winds and Crackling Jade Lightning come into play. You can see how much damage you can actually output with these. Slicing Winds can be a little bit awkward on this fight, depending on how many ads are grouped up, but the idea is to get 1 Slicing Winds per ad set and 1 full Crackling Jade Lightning, ideally on 20 stacks, and you should be able to get it to 20 pretty much every single time. Now, we're coming up to the 3rd ad set, and I would say this is probably the weakest one for Windwalker, and this is when I actually send my 2nd Storm Earth and Fire charge. Now, there's an argument that you can send this on pull, However, I think it's better to be used at one of your weaker ad sets, because you'll need as much damage as possible to get rid of the ads, and this time we don't have cooldowns for it, so Storm Earth and Fire seems like the suitable play here. The only other ad set you're going to get where this is kind of the case is going to be ad set 5, which is 2 from this, which is also when you're outside of your cooldowns, but potentially you could get rolling garbage then, so you can play it however you feel is best, but this is just when I do it. As well as this, you do want to try get Touch of Death off whenever you can. Unfortunately, I only get it once or twice during this fight, so I don't really min-max Touch of Death, but if you can min-max it, that is ideal.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So, once again, I tell
Hold
myself to hold
cooldowns
cooldowns,
for
I see that I
ads.
don't get the rolling garbage, and I send everything. I've been targeted by a sniper, so I'm praying that my teammate rolls the garbage ball into them, and luckily they do. On top of that, I send all my cooldowns. The idea is to try and wait for as many ads to be stacked as possible before you send your full Crackling Jade Lightning, so you can hit 5 targets ideally, as well as slicing winds. You also need to be careful with channeling here. If a garbage ball rolls over you whilst you're channeling, it will completely interrupt it, and that is bad times. I think now's a good time to talk about defensives as we're going into the 5th set, as not much really happens here. I'm kind of low on cooldowns, so this is probably my weakest ad set of the entire fight. When it comes to defensives, I like to play it like this. Touch of Karma I like to use when I get the Fire Circle on me, as this will reflect all of the damage the Fire Circle does and keep me in a good amount of health. Diffuse Magic I will press as a panic button, but I will also press it when I'm hypercharged. Now, when it comes to hypercharge, I like to press Diffuse Magic when it's under 6 seconds. That way you get to ease out the rest of the damage that you get from it with your Diffuse Magic, as the dock kind of ramps up and you take a lot of damage from it. So pressing at the start will cover you a bit, but when it falls off, you will then take a massive amount of damage as hypercharge is still rolling. So trying to use it just under 6 seconds is perfectly ideal. I like to use Fortifying Brew during the jump, as we've gone through earlier in the fight, but I also like to use it during ad sets 3 and ad sets 5, ideally. One or the other if the cooldown doesn't line up. The reason for this is I don't have Conduit. I have Conduit set to heal me during my channel, so during ad sets where I have all of my cooldowns, I actually get a lot more healing. Outside of that, I don't. So Fortifying Brew, I think, is a lot stronger to be used in the ad sets where you don't have Conduit active. So, once again, we're coming up to a cooldown ad set, and the idea, once again, is to get as many lightning stacks as possible and pop everything on these ads. You can see that this fight is coming to an end. A lot of fire is spreading. It can get very messy, but you can survive it. My best advice would be, if you're stood in fire, to roll out as soon as possible. Damage from the fire can absolutely tick you down. We're not talking the fire circle here, we're talking the garbage fire on the floor. It really hurts. Rolling through it is probably your best option to get out. So, as we come into the final set of ads, the call is to no longer attack any of the ads, and it's to funnel everything into the boss, including the garbage balls. So, here is exactly what I do. This is another set where I have no cooldowns, but it's not the end of the world. Instead, what I try to do is I pop my heart window a little bit early without Fist of Fury, just to get as much damage on the boss as possible, as I know by holding it, I'm probably not going to get as much value, as the boss will die during this. As well as this, I get the hypercharge on me. However, I do pop a Diffuse Magic. However, if the boss had stayed alive for a couple more seconds, I would definitely have dropped to the floor on this kill. So yeah, generally that Stix. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of POVs of me rolling the garbage, as I only got it once during this fight, which is good for damage, but kind of bad for the overall experience. Generally, I found that I'll get garbage rolling at least twice a fight, and if that's the case, you just need to focus on getting the garbage, getting the Scrap Master, and either shooting yourself into one of the big bombs if you've been assigned it, or into the boss to get damage. Making sure you hit the boss with your garbage is so important here. Almost all of the boss damage on this fight comes from the rolling garbage balls. It's almost essential that you hit these. I think it's also worth mentioning here, because it didn't happen in this POV, but if you get the garbage ball on a set that you have your cooldowns, the moment you finish rolling your garbage ball and you've either hit a bomb or hit the boss, whichever one, you then go back in and you pop your cooldowns. You do not save them for the next ad set, it's just too much damage that you're giving up. You will be a little bit delayed on every ad set going forward, but it's crucial that you send your cooldowns the moment that you can. Boss damage is just important as ad damage here. Anyway, I've been Windwalker POV, and I hope this guide helps you get your first Stix takedown. Catch you in the next one.